Did you know that 80% of people fail to keep their New Year's resolution by February? As a matter of fact, only 8% keep them by the entire year.
Oh my gosh, why do you think that is?
What you see with a lot of people, they are keeping resolutions and making plans for things that they know they probably can't even keep.
Yeah.
So someone might say, oh, this year starting January, I am going to start to lose weight, I'm going to start exercise, and they're going to go to the gym, and they're going to do like 20, they're going to the gym like, let's say 3, 4, 5 times for the week, when they couldn't have even gone 1 time for the week.
You're right, because I think when we make resolutions, we tend to think about ourselves in a like hyperbolic way. We're not looking at the reality of who we are, our behaviors. So it sounds nice to say, oh, I'm going to start working out at the gym, or I'm going to start waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning and all these things. But if you don't really know who you are and your patterns, your behaviors, you're kind of making, it's like a goal that you were going to fail from the beginning.
Exactly.
And I think we do tend to focus more on the future, right? Everybody has this kind of like futuristic tomorrow mindset of, oh, I'm going to get this done this many months from now, this many years from now, and so on, rather than the present moment.
And I think that's something that we have to start living in today.
Yeah.
And the present moment. Because if you think about tomorrow so much, and oh, tomorrow I'm going to do this. So what are you going to do today?
Yeah.
And that's something we need to be aware of.
Yeah, so welcome back to the Morgan Dialogues. We're so glad to be with you guys before. This is probably our last video of 2024.
Yes, it is. Yes.
So we felt this was right on time for, you know, obviously the new year, and it's easy to get kind of pulled into the New Year's resolution trend because it just sounds great. Everybody gets to start new, start fresh, and sometimes we can set ourselves up for failure if we're not really thinking about what exactly do we want.
True. But today we're going to discuss and talk about, do you really need another resolution? Do you really need one?
Do we? Let's talk about it.
Do you remember the days when you used to have your resolution?
Yeah, I definitely think there's sort of like, it's like someone spiked your drink and you just have this ultimate courage to just start making. So I remember making New Year's resolutions that were just not realistic. They were things I wanted to see in myself, but I didn't even have the necessary mindset, capabilities, any of that to actually accomplish them. Yeah.
And that's so true. And you see, that's why we fail a lot of the times. Why the statistics do say that. By February,
80%.
80%. So we start make these, and I can tell you, it has to be big plans. We start with these big plans, big goals, big dreams. We're like, yes.
Yeah.
But you see, one thing we fail to realize is that even if we're going up a stair, doesn't matter how high, guess what we have to make first?
The first step.
Very good.
Yeah.
And I think we are working towards that. We want to reach there, but we're not really taking that first step. And I think that's why we fail as a result by in February of that year.
So it's kind of like, how do we prevent ourselves from being too confident in our abilities or making these big aspirations that we're not even prepared to sustain, let alone by February? So we want to kind of do that 2024 reality check.
Sure.
Right? We want to ask ourselves the questions we really should be asking.
Yes, definitely. And you see, when you think of the new year, you need to first think of last year.
Yeah, exactly.
Or for example, this year. What have you really achieved this year?
Yeah.
Have you really achieved anything this year? Can you say, before you think about next year, your New Year's resolution, let's talk about the things that you, did you really achieve anything? What didn't you achieve? What mistakes that were made? What things in your life do you think you need to change? To me, those are the questions we need to ask moving into the new year.
Yeah, it's really having an honest assessment of your progress, you know, and it even starts with, where did you write these goals? I mean, were they in a vision board? Were they in a journal? Did you write them on your calendar? Like, do you even know what your original goals were to begin with, right? So it's like before making those big dreamy goals of 2025, we really need to ask ourselves, how did my 2024 look? Did I accomplish what I wanted to? Do I even know what I want to accomplish? Because sometimes that will change throughout the year as well. Like, I might have started off the year saying, oh, I want to do this, but throughout the year that changed and that wasn't my goal anymore, right?
And I love that.
Yeah.
And here's something I can say as well. You may have a goal most likely they are big. That's why they fail.
Yeah.
But here's something I want you to look at. Set big goals. Mindful. Set big goals. Why? Because if we set a goal too small, we may achieve them before even February.
True.
However, when you set those big goals, set small goals that will take you there.
That's great.
So at the end of the day, when you have a goal, say, I want to cook by today, for example.
Yeah.
No, let's say for this year, I want to learn how to cook Japanese, for example. For the first month, let's say you're going to say, what can I accomplish in the first month?
Right.
It may take you 8 months, 9 months in order to complete that task.
Right.
But here's something we need to focus on those small goals so that we're able to complete. And even if you're not finished completing it for the year, still an achievement. Why? Because at least you stuck towards that goal, and that's why you want to set big goals, because big goals mean it will take you a long time in order to accomplish them.
Exactly. And I think as you're doing that assessment, it's okay, was the goal too big, or did I not have enough little tiny goals in between? But also think about the external factors. Like, were there any fears that you had? Like, maybe you're watching us and saying, you know, I want to start a YouTube channel, or maybe you've been wanting to write a book, or maybe you've been wanting to get a new job or move to a new location, right? But maybe something held you back, like fear of what people might say about you. Like, oh, you want to be a content creator? Like, you know, it could have been fear from what your family could have said, your coworkers, and so on and so forth. So you have to really think about what fears held you back from actually accomplishing your goals.
There's something that I realized. Sometimes, as a matter of fact, I was looking at the review of the movie Incredibles. That cartoon, animated cartoon. And the villain, I don't know his name right now.
Yeah, it just slipped my mind too.
His name starts with S, because he has this like Superman on it. And that villain, what happened is that he was trying to overpower, he was trying to prove the incredible guy wrong. All his life, all he did.
The father.
Yeah, the father was trying to prove him wrong, that, hey, I can be a supervillain, I am better than you. And here's something I have to say. We either live our life trying to accomplish something throughout our life, or sometimes we live our life trying to please someone else. And that's where the problem is going to be. When we live our life based on someone else is trying to prove them wrong, trying to say, oh, I can't, no.
Yeah.
What do you think happens when we try to live our life, or set plans based on, oh, we're trying to prove this person wrong, or, oh, I'm trying to...
Yeah, we're not being true to ourselves, and it's not you. It's not who you are. Exactly. You're just doing it to save face, or like you said, to prove something to other people. I've definitely been there before, and you know, it actually just leaves you on this rabbit hole of never accomplishing it, because like we find with people cannot be satisfied, you know, and so yeah, it doesn't make you true to who you are. And that would lead us into talking about how unexpressed gifts and ideas and dreams and visions that you have, even your potential, right? Because when you live for other people, or you live trying to set goals for others just so that everybody can give you your props or whatever, you end up missing out on what truly makes you who you are, like your true gifts, your true potential. And so those things end up dying.
Very good.
Yeah.
And, you know, I heard a quote by Miles Monroe. But before I say it, though, that is why when you're setting even your I want to call it resolution, your dream, something you want to accomplish for the year. Yeah. Start small. Yeah. You notice we said don't start too small. No, we're not saying to start very small. That might be before January you're finished. No. But still have your big goal, but have small nuggets leading towards that goal. Yeah. And here's something that Miles Monroe said. He said well, let me ask you this question. See if you can think about this. Okay. Where do you think is the most wealthiest place? His quote answered that question. Think about that for a second. Place. Where do you think is the most wealthiest place right now?
Well, I know the quote, so.
All right, so it's actually the graveyard.
Yeah, the grave.
And when you think about that, why is the graveyard the most wealthiest place? Because Miles Monroe said it's where all your goals, your visions, your ideas, all the things that you wanted, the plans, the inventions, they died there. Why? because we did not even started it or even got the chance to accomplish that.
Yeah, I think that's a sobering thing to say, because as we're going into a new year, you think about some of the dreams and goals you left behind in 2024 for whatever reason, right? Whether it's because you were trying to please other people, or, you know, maybe you didn't have the mindset for it. It's sobering. I mean, just the thought of dying and not having accomplished the potential God put inside of me to give to the world. I mean, because then that dies with you. I almost said baby. Of course, you're my baby. But Neil and I were watching a man on YouTube who we both really learn a lot from. And I was just watching his energy. He was just full of life and wisdom. And I said to Neil, it's like, wow, when he died, because he did, unfortunately, he took all that wisdom with him. You know, he took that bubbly smile, that personality that lights up a room. He took that with him. You know, so imagine if he wasn't on YouTube and sharing that information and we never saw it, right? That would have died with him, you know?
And you know, the same supervillain in The Incredibles.
Yeah.
He said, in life, we need to do things so that we're remembered. And when I was watching that program with that same guy who died, Joseph was his name.
Yeah, Joseph.
I look at it just like even Michael Jackson, for example. There can never be another Michael Jackson.
Right.
There can never be another Joseph.
Yeah.
Because you are unique. God made you that way. So that is why. You know, one thing I always say to my students, for that matter, I always say to persons, for example, sports day at school, you know, I don't know if you're looked at that part, very good. But here's something I always say to persons. Students will always say, oh, I don't want to participate because I may come last. You know what I said to them? So what if you come last?
Yeah. So
as a matter of fact, when it's graduation time or 5 years down the road, that's what remind you about school. Oh my gosh, I ran that race and I came last. It's still a memory. And you see, that's something we need to look into. That's why sometimes we're afraid, oh, if I come last, trust me, you have to come last before you come first. Check yourself, check all the grades.
Yeah, we know that about athletics too. It's like you can't win them all. Like, as much as you want to, you cannot win them all. But the better you get, the more of them you do start winning. Yeah.
Baby, the present moment paradox.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about that, because you know, you're listening to us and you're like, oh, we should be planning for the future in the tomorrow mindset. But there is a present moment paradox, because you're like, okay, we know the present matters. It's super important to focus on that. But we also do need to plan, right? It's not like you want to walk into a situation and not have a plan. It's good to plan. I know God encourages us to plan, you know, and so that's kind of the present moment paradox. How do we balance, baby? How do we balance having tomorrow in mind? Tomorrow doesn't exist for us, right? Just right now, but also the power of today, enjoying today.
You know, that reminds me, this week we were thinking of going somewhere in the next few days, which would be tomorrow actually. We did make plans to say, all right, this week, this is what, actually we said, this is what we're going to film today. That's yesterday we planned for today filming, and tomorrow we'll be visiting our families. But guess what happened that day that we made that plan? We said this day, today, later, we're going to go out together and enjoy ourselves. That's focusing on the moment and saying, if God allows us to be alive tomorrow, the next few days, if it's His will for us, this is what we're going to be doing. And you notice we're mindful that we may not even be alive. And because of that reality that I may not be alive tomorrow, although I'm making plans for today, I'm going to enjoy ourselves. We're going to go out together. We're going to make the best of today.
So it's like a humility, right? It's like, I know tomorrow's not promised, but if God wills for us to live tomorrow, we'll do X, Y, and Z. Such and such.
And if we do get to do those things, I know it is according to His way.
Exactly.
So actually, this happened the other day, just to give you a practical example as well, in addition to the one we just gave you. I remember someone reached out to me on Facebook, and the person was like, I mean, we're like the last week of December now, right? So the person reached out at least a week ago. So it's like mid-December, for example. I remember the person reached out to me and said, hey, Neil, what's up, man? How you doing? All right, man. Do you have any plans for 2025? And I thought about the question. But here, the reality is that I never started making any plans for 2025. to me, it was too soon for me. I don't know what is going to happen back then. But here's the answer I gave to him. I gave to him the answer that I haven't made any plans for 2025 because there are a lot more days in 2024 that I need to enjoy.
Yeah.
And he was shocked when he heard that response because he never expected that answer.
Yeah.
But then he realized that at the end of the day, we need to enjoy our day, our moment today. The next 2 weeks that is there for the ending of the year.
Right.
So we have to be very careful of planning too far ahead when there's today.
Actually, that's a good point because I remember like towards the end of one of these years, and if you made New Year's resolutions for the following year, you kind of went into this sabotage mode, right? So you're like, next year I'm gonna lose 10 pounds. So you're like, okay, well, there's like one more week.
So why don't we?
Yeah. 1 week left. So why not? Let me go have that extra burger. Let me go have those cookies. Let me go eat out. So it kind of puts you into this sabotage mode, even if you don't mean to do it, but or I'm gonna exercise more. So what you do, you're like, okay, well, I still have a week left. I'm just gonna binge watch Netflix and chill and eat, and it puts you in sabotage. And so I feel like when you said that to your friend, like there's still days left in December, it kind of keeps you on track. You're just like, even though I know there's a new year coming, I still only have right now. So why am I gonna sabotage myself? Why not continue on in those good habits that's gonna set me up for success with momentum, right, for the new year?
I love what you just said. That reminds me as well. Because maybe one of the reasons why I personally couldn't even answer what is my plan for 2025. I'm like, we haven't reached there.
Yeah.
One of the things that may I realize why I didn't answer was that there were still things I had to do.
Yes, unfinished business.
And at the end of the day, it's based on what I do this year, it may determine the type of 2025.
Exactly.
So while I'm thinking about planning, I'm just thinking of trying to finish up the year with the plans that I already had.
Yeah. So with that being said, sometimes maybe you're just like, well, I don't know, there's so many goals I can make. There's so many things to look forward to in the new year. But we've basically figured these 3 fundamentals that you can start out and even the end of 2024, but also into 2025, that still gives you that humility of being in the present, but also planning for the future. What are those 3 areas, babe?
Well, before I go into them, I noticed you say, while we're still in 2024, you remember the example, we're going to wait until January to start doing all these things, but yet for the rest of the year, we're going to eat. Sabotage. Well, here's what I'm going to advise. While we mention these 3 things, I'd advise you to start the momentum from now. From today. With these 3 things.
That's a good point.
And you see, with these 3 things, if there's nothing else that you accomplish in your entire life, these 3 things are like they're
the core of our life.
So once you start focusing on these 3 things, you'll find meaning to your life. You don't have to wait for tomorrow, next week, next year. You're going to look forward today to make the most of these 3 things.
I love that.
Wonderful. Start with number 1. Your relationship with God.
So and even if your relationship with God hasn't been the most healthiest or the most devoted, you can take this time now to really ask yourself, how do I really rate my relationship with God? I mean, how do I feel close to him? Does he feel far away? Do I feel like I dropped off at some point, backslid, went back into my ways? You can reflect on that. It's just, where is my relationship with God right now?
You see, we love sing this song, I am a friend of God. We are a friend of God. But does God see us like that as his friend? I remember...
Good point.
I remember bringing this up with someone. For example, Obama, one of the presidents of the United States. And I said, do you know that president? And they're like, oh, of course, I know him, blah, blah, blah. But then I asked the question, do you think that president know you? Where am I getting at? Having a relationship with God is wanting to say, oh my gosh, I go to church. I haven't been to church in a while. I need to... It's not so much about you having a relationship with him. But does God even see that you're trying to have a relationship? Because sometimes we go to church, we try to have a relationship because things are not going well in our lives. And if that's the only time you want to develop a relationship,
Yeah.
I'm gonna say, don't do it.
Yeah, yeah. And that, to me, a relationship with God is the foundation for everything else.
Wow.
You know, because we can at least say, in spite of our ups and downs, that relationship with God has kept us solid, no matter what seasons we're changing. That really, to me, is the foundation of success in life, is your relationship with the Creator.
And you know what just came to me as well. I remember I went to this crusade at a church recently. And I remember,
Was I with you?
Yes.
Was I with you?
Yes, you were.
okay,
Well, it wasn't just that last one.
Oh.
One I went before. I think early in the year. I remember.
Okay.
And I remember, you know, they love talk about, oh, you need to give your life.
Yes.
You might die tomorrow.
Right.
Something came to me, and remember, here's something I want you to be mindful of. That's why if you're not at that place, it's good to start today.
Yes.
Right now. Where am I getting at? When I heard them say, you may not live for tomorrow, you don't know what tomorrow promised. But you see, that's the thing when you make plans with God in mind.
Yeah.
It's not just our plans,
Right.
but we seek Him. We have that relationship where we say, oh God, what do you want us to do? Even this week, I was wondering, what is it that we can do?
Yeah.
And in my wife's dream, she got clarity that we're to continue along the same path.
Yeah.
That's why we're here even today.
Right.
Because
Yes.
I'm saying that to say this, that when those persons, I heard them say it, that you don't know what tomorrow may bring.
Yeah.
For that moment, I didn't feel, oh my gosh, I need to get my life right. Why? Because I knew that we have a relationship with Him.
Yes.
And He has already shown us our promise, our path, our purpose in life, coming to that verse soon. But because of that, I wasn't fearful of tomorrow. And that is the reason why we can even make plans for the next day and say, if it's Thy will, let it be done. So that it doesn't just happen like that. Oh God, if you want this, no.
Right.
You have to
have a relationship. Absolutely. So relationship with God is definitely one aspect of your life you should focus for 2025. Yes. And also, number 2 is family bonds, family relationships. Why is that important, babe?
Right. Put it this way, we all have friends.
Yeah.
We all try to be in relationship, whether at workplace, on the road, wherever it is. But at the end of the day, when push comes to shove, the one set of people that should be there for you should be is your family.
That's true.
And here's something. I remember my family life, my life with my family wasn't the best. But guess what happened? Since I spoke to those who I had problems with or had issues with, and I really didn't take overnight, mind you.
Right.
But because of my family now, I can look back and treasure them because the family is one set of people that should be the closest to you. And here's the thing, you don't have to tell everything with your family. But when you have someone who you can call on or someone they can call on or you can share certain things or they can support you, we're still family. We're still family. And that's the thing. Whenever you have your family being together, that can motivate you. That can inspire you. That can allow you to go with your dreams. So when you're thinking, let's say you're the person that set your new plans for the new year and you have friends who just say, why are you doing that? But you see, when you have family that believes in you, at least. Not saying it will happen all the time. But if you can develop that family dynamics so that they can be the one who will support you. Remember, mindful, my family wasn't there for me all along. But I said, once I've been through it all and explained myself what I've been through, that God is with me, I realized that now they are like the bond for me and for us as a matter of fact.
I mean, our family is a huge part of how we've been able to get through some hard times, you know. I mean, we haven't been married long, but I mean, because of our coming together, we've gotten hit a lot, spiritual attacks and so on. Individually, before we came together, when we came together. And having your family there, I mean, people to pray over you, pray for you. And I feel another important part of this, and I know not everybody has healthy relationships with their family, right? So we're not saying to go back to a toxic family if that's what you have, right? Sometimes you can find family in your friends and people you trust, people, even where you go in terms of community, your church family, right? But I think family is also a big part of identity too, right? It's like, your family carries values, it carries stories, memories, history about who you are as a person. And I feel one of the things we both really started to do a lot, especially before we got married, was interviewing our family about where we come from, what are some of the things we went through, and why are we all a certain way? Why do we have this certain stronghold in our family? Because as you understand these things, now you can walk into life a bit more prepared, a bit more solid in who you are. And like you said, family, that's like forever. Your family's forever, right? So I think if you've had rough patches with your family and you feel like, you know what, maybe there's a chance for healing in this new year. Maybe we should think about, is there anyone I need to forgive in my family? Are there any grudges I've been holding against someone, and making it right with them?
You know, speaking of grudges,
Yeah.
I got closer to my mother when I started understanding her past.
Yeah.
Sometimes the person in your family that you don't understand, your like the words and all of that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need to sit down with them and say, hey, can you tell us something about yourself?
Yeah.
What type of life you went through?
Yes.
And when I spoke to my mom about this and then said, what about dad? How did you meet that?
Yeah.
What was he like? Just doing that allowed her to open up.
Yes.
And you see, sometimes the persons who we have certain things against is because probably we don't take time out to understand them.
Yeah.
We have a story, so do that person.
Yeah.
So sometimes if we give ourselves time to listen to their story, mind you, it may not change nothing.
Yes, right.
But the fact that you took time out to listen to that person or that individual, I guarantee you, it will get them thinking about you as an individual.
Yeah.
And maybe even change later on.
Exactly. So we have our relationship with God, our family bonds and ties, and the third one is the area to focus on for 2025 would be
your purpose.
Your purpose.
And that's important.
Yeah.
And let me say this to you. There was a time in my life where I look forward to the New Year's resolution
Yeah.
and I look forward to do the things that I want to do or to pursue whatever dreams. My life changed when there's one year I remember. It was December 31st, New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
And for the first time in my life, I asked God this question. What purpose do you have for me for the new year?
Yeah. Yeah, game changer.
Not, oh my gosh, I need to pursue this. See, the thing that I did and I was mindful of, you notice you have to assess your situation, your past. I once just went ahead, pursue what I wanted to pursue.
Yeah.
When it went bad, oh God, can you fix this for me?
Yeah. And God's like, I didn't tell you to do that.
Thank you. And I had to be real with myself.
Yeah.
When it went bad, I couldn't go to it.
Yeah.
Why I can't go to him? Because I didn't ask him to start it in the first place.
Yeah.
I didn't ask this is his will for my life.
Yeah.
And we have to be real with ourselves sometimes. If you pursue that relationship, pursue that job, pursue that career, I didn't even come to God about it.
Yeah.
When it's going wrong, why are you coming to God to fix anything?
Yeah. And I think with purpose, it actually keeps you from doing things that will waste your time, right? So obviously that relationship with God is going to be a big part of how you discover that purpose, because he's the one that created you for whatever reason he created you for. I remember the analogy we were talking about how, airplanes can fly, but they're not cars where they can drive. But a lot of people are supposed to be airplanes, but they're driving on the road like cars, right? And so you have to, when it comes to setting even goals, that should all be in alignment with your purpose, with your God-given purpose. I remember the year 2016, one of my goals was to go to the Rio de Janeiro Olympics. That was on my vision board, okay? And I felt with all my heart that was what I needed to do. But all these years later, now that I know my purpose, now I know why God called me to these certain, to go through things, to experience them, and then now it's a different purpose than just running professionally. I realized, you know what? That was a waste of my time. To a degree, it was, because I was making goals based off of what I wanted. And then, like I said, I was gravely disappointed because it didn't work out. I kept getting injured. And it got to a place where I was like, God, why is this happening? I wanted this to work out. This is my dream. This is my goal. But it wasn't in alignment for his purposes for me.
And you see, that is powerful there. Why wasn't it work out? It's usually time you should ask this question instead. what are you trying to say to me?
Right.
Actually,
Yes.
I learned this. Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
And whenever
Yeah.
things are not working according to plan,
Yeah.
maybe God is trying to get your attention.
Exactly.
And here's something I want you to. You may say, oh, but my life has been living a certain way, and I don't think I'm living according.
Yeah.
I guarantee you that your previous experience is going to help you with what
Yes.
God has.
Yes.
That's what
it won't
we
be a
realize.
total waste.
Trust me,
Yeah.
it will not be a
Yes.
total waste.
Yes.
So you may be saying, oh, my life is not there yet. I don't have a relationship.
Yeah.
My family. It's okay.
Yeah. It's okay.
What God wants is for you to start today.
Yes.
You notice it's not so much about January 1,
Right.
2025.
Then
We're encouraging you to start
now.
today.
With that being said, so that you're not feeling pressured to join this 2025 bandwagon, sometimes it's good to know and give yourself permission to rest.
Definitely.
I mean, we just got through a year, right? So the fact that you made it to the end, praise God, right? But if God is giving you the sign to just rest into the new year, do that. I don't think we encourage that enough during the end of the year. Everything's about ramping up and being your best self, living your best life, but God may just be telling you to rest.
And you see, rest means that you can reflect.
Yes.
That's what rest means.
Yes. As opposed to resolution, reflection.
Exactly. That's why you could even start your new year. Just you see, here's what happened to me personally. I'm pretty sure this may happen to you. We're at work, for example. You're at work and you get a leave.
Yeah.
Don't you realize that when you get leave and you're back at work, you're more recharged, refreshed,
Yeah.
ready to even work another 5-6 months?
That's a good point.
That's why rest is important.
Yes.
It gives you a chance to recharge. Maybe while you're not figuring out your purpose and you're not hearing from God, you're too busy doing a lot of things that God doesn't want you to be doing.
Yes.
Sometimes when you take that rest, why do you think we dream, by the way? It's that moment of rest.
Yes.
God can allow these dreams to come into our mind, vision. It can only happen when we
rest. Yeah, and it's kind of a way. It's a time to look back before looking forward, learning from your past patterns. You know, so it's really about thinking about your life and what could have been done differently. Why didn't things work out? And you can do all that while you're resting. You may not even need to set any goals, right? Those 3 areas are important, but this could be just a time for you to rest and reflect.
There's one thing I learned about a ship. A ship sails on the ocean, of course.
Yeah.
But they collect, I think it's barnacles.
Yes.
Barnacles?
Yes. The little rocks that sucked on the bottom of
Yes.
them.
And I learned that what happens when they dock, I'm not sure if it's every time, not sure, but they have to make sure they remove those things from the ship. Why? Because it will keep them holding back. So in the same way, in order to move forward, probably why you're not moving forward enough is because you have things that are holding you back.
Yeah.
And remember, barnacles are for ship.
Yeah.
What is holding you back?
Yeah.
And that's why we need time to rest. To probably even say, God, can you tell me those things that are holding me back from me for having a better relationship with you?
Amen. That's great, baby. I couldn't have said that perfectly. So thank you guys so much. We want to give a shout out to all of our supporters and commenters, those of you who have supported the channel. We appreciate it so much. We're looking forward to continue, having these dialogues. They're good to have. It's even good for us just to make sure we're also practicing what we preach. But thank you guys for this incredible year and ride. We enjoyed it. So we just challenge you to start today. Don't worry about tomorrow because tomorrow has its own evils. Right now we have today.
And you still have a chance to get it right.
Yes.
I started today. All right, so once again, thank you for coming today.
Morgan Dialogues.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.